Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Hey, what's up? We are here, and we have lots more questions to answer in a hopefully satisfactory way, but we make no guarantees.
We guarantee there will be an answer, but not if you're satisfied.
Yes. How you doing, Ian?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. We got anything we need to get to before we jump into the questions, or should we just hop right on into it?
Just a friendly reminder that these are priority Q&A questions that were submitted by our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, Ko-fi.com/Kofi. No, BumbleKast. And see, I can't do it now that I'm saying it right. And our YouTube members, just get on with it.
You're saying it wrong. You're saying it right, but now you're saying it wrong.
Because / doesn't roll off the tongue like
backslash / business. So much business. I don't know, man.
Fine. Patreon.com /BumbleKast.
A hyphen fell over.
I was just gonna lean on this letter up for just a second.
Okay. Johnny Be Good is going to start us off with a question. Which group of alien conquerors in the Sonic franchise do you like more, the Black Arms or the Meta-Rex? If they fought each other, who do you think would win? I mean, you do a better Black Arms voice than you do a Meta-Rex voice. I don't even know what the Meta-Rex sound like, so.
Here's the thing. They're both not great for Sonic, but I don't know, because on the one hand, I do like the Black Arms in that they are like truly alien. They're like xenomorph light stuff with their hive mind and the fact that they are so easily disposable without too many moral quandaries. They're just basically meat running around doing the actions of one villainous will. You know, as you're it's not like you're taking out individual humans, you're just taking out homunculi. And they got some gross designs that they don't really feel very Sonic-y, but I mean, I guess that's because they're aliens, whatever. They feel appropriately alien, they feel appropriately threatening, I guess. But I never felt like they felt very Sonic-y. And I know it's Shadow's game, but you have the entire Sonic cast showing up. You have the Sonic-style gameplay with extra mechanics. It's a Sonic game.
Yeah.
The Meta-Rex, they have a really interesting biology to them with the whole living tree and like vaguely dinosaur people and the weird sexual dimorphism going on and the plight of, you know, their world and whatnot. And Cosmo's fun. You know, I'm counting her as part of the mix because she's involved and she's part of the race and everything. But the Meta-Rex themselves, Black Oak and all of them, I don't like at all. They don't look like Sonic villains in the slightest. They look like Power Ranger villains.
What's wrong with that?
Because this isn't Power Rangers.
Oh,
they're over designed. They don't look like they fit. They don't look like anything should fit inside that armor. And they aren't terribly interesting from what I remember characterization wise. They're just kind of tropey. Like they're basically Deadly Six level of depth. Granted, it's been a long time since I've seen season 3, so maybe I'm missing out on something. And a lot of what I'm getting was from translation, so maybe I'm missing some nuance. Big caveat, cop out there, but I don't know. I don't really like either of them to get down to it.
Are you sure this isn't Power Rangers though? Because everyone's coordinated. I mean, Sonic himself is a teenager with attitude. I mean, I think it's more Power Rangers than you might think.
Yeah, but they don't transform and they don't have giant robots.
Sonic gathers up emeralds and transforms into Super Sonic. That's a transformation.
That's a special transformation. He doesn't have a morpher or anything to gain Super Sentai powers. He just naturally is. I feel like they skew more towards Western superhero than they do Super Sentai.
Super Sentai is kind of Western superhero-y. It's like, it's very inspired by Western comic books in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but I feel like it has its own distinct flavor.
It does, yes. But, I mean, there's definitely some things there. And I mean, come on, Tails could make a morpher. Easy.
Yeah, but it's not it's not the central conceit of their powers or their dynamic. They're not an organized team. They don't transform to gain new abilities. They don't have too many extra peripherals. It's just they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not wrong. There are elements in there, to be sure. But I feel like it's distinctly not that.
Well, you know what? IDW and Boom have a working relationship together. Where's the Sonic and Power Rangers crossover?
Yeah, seriously.
We were having a freaking Power Rangers and Godzilla crossover going on right now. So, first of all, where is that? And also, where is the Sonic and Godzilla crossover? Because, I mean, now the precedent has been set.
Hey, I've got the pitch loaded in the chamber. I'm ready to go when they are.
You should maybe poke them a little bit.
I did a while ago.
I know you did. This was before they were doing. It seemed like they were open to doing crossovers, though. Things seem to have shifted a little bit. Maybe you should. Maybe you should give them a little prod. You know, just a suggestion.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's so weird that Sonic has gone on for 50 issues and it hasn't had a single IDW crossover. I don't know, man. That's so weird. Here's a question from John B. So, Dr. Eggman makes Badniks. Belle was made by Mr. Tinker, who was Eggman's amnesia-induced good alter ego. Does that make Belle a goodnik?
Sure, why not?
Those darn no goodniks. Here's a question from Joestar SSB. As a Full Metal Alchemist enthusiast, Ian, tell me, what do you think really worked with Nina's story arc and the way it's told? Currently writing a similar tragic tale and could use some insight on a story I like from a writer I admire.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to be talking in broad strokes here, just in case you haven't read it yet, because why are you looking at my schlock? Go read Full Metal right now. Read something that's actually good by someone with talent, for pity's sake. But with Nina's story, I think first and foremost, it's that it doesn't overstay its welcome. They don't drag it out. They introduce the key elements, they pull the trigger on it, and then they resolve it. It's like, I can't remember now if it's like 1 or 2 manga chapters and like maybe an episode or 2 in the proper anime adaptation. But it isn't dwelled upon. They don't spend too long setting it up or foreshadowing it. Because a lot of the core mechanics to the horror of it are already established in the world building of the series, the understanding of what alchemy is and what it takes to achieve it. And Nina's story serves as a further example of what alchemy can do and how it works in this world. It's not just a shock value story. It sets up a lot of larger ideas, be it the way that the alchemists are run, the way that they are maintained, the way they're financed, the degree of which they have oversight, and the themes of using alchemy to toy with life itself and for selfish means. Like a lot of what the father's ultimate goal is, you know, in broad themes can be seen just in Nina's story. And it also serves as a story beat to help us understand Ed and Al's view on what they will accept and kind of, I don't want to say gently, but open their eyes to the larger horrors that will come about in the series. Like, if you can imagine them coming across the threats at the end of the series, having not met Nina or the 2 convicts, you know, early on, they would not have been prepared. They would not have any kind of context or, you know, any kind of mental calluses prepared to handle that. So I think it's an excellent little thing because it on the one hand feels like it goes for the cheap emotional thing, but it's because it is so straightforward, and it's not like the Mae Hughes thing, which is drawn out and becomes a point that you touch upon throughout the series. This is kind of a sucker punch, and that I think is what lends itself to the power that it's had. They don't draw it out, they don't tease you with this, because then I think it would feel more cheap if they'd done it that way. They introduce the concept, they follow through with it, and it becomes an education point for the narrative and for the characters that is built upon from there.
Alrighty. I admit I have not read or watched any FMA anything. And I know you've mentioned before you should watch it, especially the second series.
I guarantee you've run into the meme.
Yeah, I have. So I know at least that, but that's about it. We got a question here from Hero of Light 13. It's a bit of a long one, so buckle in. Some fans seem to be a bit divided on how Sonic is characterized in the IDW comics, particularly when it comes to his whole trying to give the bad guys the freedom to choose a better path kind of thing. Some even see it as him forcing them to change or trying to pressure them to be good, going so far as to compare him to an I can fix them types of personality. People even think he was being a dismissive jerk to Surge when really he only just met her and didn't know what her whole deal was. While I personally don't see it that way, I think this is very in character for him, and Issue 50 really does get this idea across of him wanting to share his taste of freedom with everyone else. I was hoping to give you an opportunity to try to clear the air and explain exactly what the intention is behind focusing on this side of Sonic, as I think fans are really misinterpreting the message.
I appreciate that, but you can't really clear the air when there's bad faith takes. I'm not saying all of it is bad faith, but some folks want to be mad, and they want their interpretation to be the way things are, and anything that's contrary to that is wrong, and how dare you. I will flat out reject the notion that he's forcing his worldview on people, because that's the entire point of the speech, is he's not forcing anything on anyone. Had Surge, just turned her back on him at that point and said, you know what, forget it, I'm going off to be a recluse somewhere and selfishly tend to daisies on some remote island. Fine by him. That's her choice. If she chose to continue the fight and then walk away, that's her choice. The whole point is you're free to do what you want, but if what you want endangers others, he will stop you. It's his ownership of that broad accessibility. He understands to a degree that there comes a danger with that freedom of choice. And so he will take the responsibility of protecting others because he's opening that door. He hopes you will make a better choice, but he's not telling you what that choice should be. At no point does he tell Surge that she has to be one thing or another. She could be his friend. She could still hate his guts. She could fight with him. She could walk away. She could do whatever she wanted, but he wasn't going to allow her to be a threat to everyone else. Please remember, if you're thinking this, that Surge very clearly and deliberately says she's going to burn the world down. She's going to take out everyone because she's mad at them. That is not justifiable in the slightest. So that's the deal. And
sure it is. It's justifiable. Good for her. Go off, Queen.
The other aspect of it is you don't have to agree with Sonic. It's a very, very broad and simple worldview.
It is.
It is not built for nuance. It's very, very straightforward, and there are a lot of holes you can poke in it, and he doesn't have to be 100% right. So there you go.
Alrighty. Well, let's get into some slightly lighter fare, maybe, with a question from Hedge. In Encyclopedia, you dub 2 Chaos Emeralds, making time travel dual chaos control. While from 06, Shadow gives no indication they just learned this. I understand why it won't be used again, but theoretically, why not go back and save Maria? What would a world like that look like? You'd completely get rid of Shadow's motivation for everything, for even going back to save her. He wouldn't have to if she was saved.
And this is why time travel is usually a bad idea as a narrative device. If your story is not built with it in mind, but I'm gonna say that Shadow has decided to look exclusively forward, which is kind of where he was at the end of his own game, where he's not dwelling on what was true about his past, what had happened. He's going to forge his own future and an identity. And that comes with not going back and trying to fix things. So, is that airtight? No. Is that what we're going to run with for this question? Yeah.
Okay. Happy Times has a question. Potential issue 50 spoilers. Despite knowing he was brainwashed into being loyal to Surge, Kit is still clearly obsessed with helping Surge and shows no indication of wanting to break this behavior. Since Surge had more sessions than Kit, and her main programming involved hating and wanting to destroy Sonic, would it be accurate to say that she's also still enslaved to her programming, and that's where most of her feelings still come from? She just doesn't question it like she did in Imposter Syndrome number 1, because there's enough context for her now to rationalize a reason to hate Sonic?
That's one way to read it. My interpretation, my intention, is that she's too afraid to challenge it. Like, the only thing she knows, the only bastion that she has for identity and place and purpose is her hatred for Sonic. And if she let that go, she would have nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. She doesn't know no past, no future, no relations, no connections, no motivations, nothing. She would just be in a void, not just in terms of purpose, but in identity. She would have nothing. And that's part of why she rejects Sonic's offer, because, he says you're free to make whatever choice you want, which should be a liberating mentality. She could choose to be whoever she wanted to be. She could choose to do whatever she wanted, but that's a big ask from anyone in general in the best circumstances. And she is not in the best circumstances. So the offered hand is more like a slap in the face. It's like, yeah, sure, you can be whoever and whatever you want. Well, that means if I give this up, I have nothing to work from. There is no basis to build from. And that's why she takes such mental gymnastic leaps to rationalize why she's going to stay on this destructive, hateful path, because it's all she has.
I feel so bad for her. I mean, I know she's terrible, but I don't know. I feel bad for her in a way that I don't feel bad for Starline. Because, yeah, I don't know.
Well, also it's the context of it, too,
Yeah.
because Starline, we've seen him victimize and endanger others for his own personal gain.
Right.
Surge hasn't had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
If we were having this confrontation between the two of them after she had drowned a city, then maybe folks would be a little less defensive, maybe.
I think the context is different, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure she caused some trouble. She endangered the campsite. She tried to set the whole campsite on fire, people included.
Yeah.
But there was a degree of removal and lack of culpability, I guess, to it.
Yeah.
And that degree of separation, I think, can make a world of difference for some folks.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where her story goes. So,
because she has confronted her outer demon.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the point of all of Sonic 50, is all these confrontations for what everyone has been building towards. And so now we just see how the aftermath plays out and how that affects everyone.
Yeah. Except for Starline. We already know how it affected him.
Well, I mean, he'll start to stink eventually.
Somebody should take care of that.
I mean, he's already buried, so I mean, that's done.
I guess that's a good point. Easy. Self-burying platypus. Convenient.
Eggman just kind of laughs to himself. Finally, he did something worthwhile. Saved me the trouble.
Damn. Damn.
He was your protege, boss. Do you want to say a few words? No.
There. I said a word. All right, we got a question here from Godzilla. Hey, Ian, in light of all the various Moebian versions of characters we've got, one I've yet to see is Moebian Uncle Chuck. Now, we know that Evil Jules was neglectful of young Scourge, but what about Evil Chuck? Did Evil Chuck give Scourge his first leather jacket and sunglasses? Did Evil Uncle Chuck teach Scourge to be a hellion? Is Evil Uncle Chuck just Ron Perlman from Sons of Anarchy, but a hedgehog with a cool mustache?
You said Ron Perlman, so yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But yeah, that all fits because Uncle Chuck was, the father figure Sonic never really had, and was the encouraging mentor role. So for evil Sonic, the one who's going to lead him down the wrong path is going to be evil Uncle Chuck.
Chuck, the biker gang leader. Dang, it's pretty cool.
Like, I imagine too that, as a spy in the regular universe, he was trying to preserve the Kingdom of Acorn. Ergo, he was probably some kind of saboteur under Evil King Max.
Yeah. Dang. I like this. I like this concept.
So that's the fun of the evil universe trope.
Yeah. I really feel like this was something that you could have explored at some point. Dang. You missed out. Missed out on so much. Oh well. I guess that's what your fanfic and headcanon are for. Huh? Here's a question from Finest Cacophony. Hey Ian, just figured I'd be a pal and check in on you. Hope your cranium and cheekbones aren't strained too much from the sheer level of knowing and smiling too much. Having to know and smile for about a year or so really must be tiresome. Make sure to unknowingly frown on occasion to rest your knowing and smiling muscles. Oh, right. That's not a question. Kyle, Ian, ice cream cake, yay or nay?
Yay!
Yay! We all scream for ice cream cake.
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious. It's ice cream and cake. I will take them. I will take them both. And then pass out from a sugar overdose. And it'll be glorious. It's worth it. Worth it. Totally worth it. Here's the question from Exadel. Do you think Boom Sonic could transform into Supersonic using the Chaos Crystals? The crystals and the emeralds seem to be rather similar in power and nature, but each crystal seems to have some sort of elemental name, such as the Shock Crystal or the Tidal Crystal. Despite there being 8 of them, are the Chaos Crystals fundamentally the same as the Chaos Emeralds?
I have no idea. And it reminds me of just how sad it is we didn't get to see more of Boom's alternate lore. Say what you will about Rise of Lyric and how things were handled, but it would have been neat to see a different take on Sonic, a different exploration of the lore, take some common ideas, but reimagine them in a different way. And Supersonic would make enough sense, but it might have been cool to see something a little different. Like, I don't know, maybe an elemental form of some kind, or, do the crystals not react the same as Chaos Emeralds? Are they more dangerous in terms of MacGuffins? There's a ton of ways you could have taken it, but
the cartoon version of Boom Sonic seems like he'd be too laid back to even really worry about going super. he doesn't have I guess he never really had a real reason to, except maybe against Shadow. I
don't know. In the Boom cartoon, I can imagine that they've recovered all the crystals for whatever reason, then he, decides to go put them all in a trunk downstairs, and by picking them all up, activate super form, and he's just like, wonder what happened to the crystals. They disappeared. Oh well, I feel kind of tingly. And he just doesn't realize that he's this burning ball of golden fire. And the entire episode of people going, did you do something with your hair? Why? What does it look like? Kind of bleached. Huh, that's weird. And they super downplay it the entire time.
Yeah.
Eggman comes in with the new super killer mech and Sonic one-shots it. It's like, what the what? Huh? It's pretty shoddy craftsmanship, Eggman. Usually takes a few more hits than that. Anyway, Mad Burger, anybody? And then the power wears off, and the crystals kind of just drop on the floor. He's like, oh, there they are. How'd they get over here? Oh, well. Oh, don't worry. I'll go put them in the trunk. And he picks them all up, and boosh, there he goes again. I think we've reached season 3 of Sonic Boom now. No, season 4?
This would be 4. This would be 4. We're somewhere in 4. Oh boy. Another classic episode that we'll never see. I'm so sad. Duizdiz Din has a question. Yo, Mighty Man of Flynn, are you still holding your breath for a Dofus Book 2 movie like I am, or are you just happy to get what you get at this point? Is it Dofus or is it Doofus or what? Am I saying it wrong?
It's Dofu.
Tofu. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's French. You don't pronounce the S.
Oh, I don't know. Is that related to Wakfu?
Yes, it is the prequel series.
Oh, okay.
Or I guess prequel franchise if you get down to it. It's
goes to show what big. I know, as I call it Dofus. I'm the Dofus here.
Personally, I'm looking more forward to the next season of Wakfu because I just want to know what's going on. And I'm not super sure why, because I didn't really enjoy season 3 too much, to be perfectly honest. I mean, sure, it was gorgeous, but just I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with it, but yeah, like I don't even remember if they said what a premise for Dofus 2 was going to be, like if it was going to follow up on Joris or any of that. So I enjoy the world that they've created, what surface level stuff I've read and watched. So, and it's French animation, so it's going to be freaking a feast for the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God, dude, just look up the Carabim movie for pity's sake. Just, so pretty. I'm not like super invested in it anymore, but I still enjoy it. So I will look forward to it if it comes out or whatever Ankama decides to put out. But I'm also not losing sleep waiting for it.
Mm-hmm.
You dig me?
Yeah, I get it.
Last thing I remember being hyped over was the OVA that kind of bridged to season 2 and 3. If nothing else, for when they challenge Ogrest and the Dofus dragons, because oh my God, dude, that is a fight and a half. Just no, it's good. It's good. It's just Sadly Grove and Yugo just going all out, and it's good stuff. I kind of forget that the first OAV episode even happens. It's like, oh yeah, there's that plot point. That happened. Anyway, back to the last part where all the crazy stuff happens. I'd say season 3 was bad. Just, I don't know. I wanted more from Lady Echo and, what was even the main villain? Anti-Hugo. He was kind of, I don't know. That was not what you asked. I'm getting off on some nerdy tangent where I can't even remember character names. Never mind.
God, I remember when we were at Comic-Con in like 2012 and Wakfu was a thing there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're not even up to a 4th season yet. They take their time, I guess, huh?
I don't know. What I've heard, or at least what I remember hearing, is that Ankama as a studio prefers to tackle things as they feel like it and not with like a strict marketing plan in mind. They want to tell the story. They don't want to necessarily be consistent with a product, which I can appreciate on an artistic level, but I'm also a consumer and I just want them to feed me things,
Feed me.
That and I'm not sure, but they may have overextended their reach a little bit, because Wakfu was a sequel MMO to Dofu, and I don't think it took off as well or had as much longevity. I could be very wrong. If you're a Wakfu player and I'm talking out of my ass, please correct me. But like the TV series, I think did okay, but not amazing. The movies did okay, but not amazing. Like not enough to really fund the next step.
Hmm.
The merchandise they put out was piecemeal and varying in quality depending on price. And even then, some of it was. I really wanted to get the Wakfu cast set, but that's a lot of euros.
Hmm.
I did splurge on the super high quality Remington they put out though, because God, that was a great figure, and he was a really neat character when they introduced him. And then he just kind of exists. So it's like, well, there goes the fandom hype, but this is nice. This is a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Man, now I'm upset about Remington again because he was so cool when they introduced him in season 2. And then by the time he comes back, it's like, oh, what happened to all the menace and all the coolness? Come on. Come on. You're outfitted with like a half a dozen shoo. Just, sorry, I'm getting on a tangent again.
Yeah. Oh, well. It's fun. It's fun to hear you rant, so it's all good. We got a few questions left, though, before we take a break. This one comes to us courtesy of Dreamboatin'. All right, answer me this, Mr. Scientist. It's a national tragedy. Cream trips on Froggy and Big almost falls on Cheese. The two decide there's no way to settle this other than a trial by combat. Who wins, who loses, and how much collateral damage is caused in the process?
Cream will put up a decent fight, especially with Cheese present. But in the end, it's going to go to Big because, frankly, he has the range. I mean, yes, Cheese is a tiny, self-aware projectile, but that's not going to do much against Big's impervious bulk. And yes, Cream is swift and able to fly, but he is a precision fly fisherman. He will yank her out of the air eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're assuming that we're going completely off the rails, because neither of them would go to actually fight each other, they would talk it out in real life. But we're doing death battle here. Yeah, he would eventually just trounce them both and eat them whole, and then go fishing because his appetite for vengeance and fish is unquenchable. He might have to go to the next continent over though, because everything else has just been laid to waste. Like there's not a single piece of greenery left. The entire earth has been churned up. This is destruction on a biblical level. Whoever managed to survive will tell tales, and it will go on to the end of time when Big finally decides that he's done toying with this reality and snuffs it out and starts another.
Yes, that's exactly what will happen. I mean, considering Big could very easily just take out Supersonic, I don't think Cream stands a chance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Here's one from Digimon11. How come Sonic never arrests Eggman? It's not like they're above putting the bad guys in jail, given that Rough and Tumble got arrested twice. Mimic was too dangerous to be left free, and even Zavok was arrested after the Metal Virus situation. So why not Eggman himself?
This reminds me of a story I never got to do in Archie Sonic. And this is not a Lost Hedgehog's Tale thing because it was never planned. It was never plotted. But the idea was, and I'm thinking this is probably pre-reboot, but it could have worked post-reboot, that Eggman is, arrested and he's put on trial. And he's by himself because who in their right mind would represent Eggman? And right as the proceedings begin, Wes Weasley enters the courtroom and declares himself Eggman's attorney.
Oh, no.
And the first thing he does is he moves for a mistrial because, quite frankly, it's supposed to be a jury of his peers. And who is a peer with Dr. Eggman? He's got a genius IQ, Pally. You can't put a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of schnooks here on the jury and pass judgment. What are you talking about? I move for mistrial. And he gets overruled. So then he objects again. I'm objectifying, Your Honor. Because he is the head of the Eggman Empire. And he does not recognize the legitimacy of this court, or really the legitimacy of any government on the planet. They should all be subservient for him. And therefore, Your Honor, you have no jurisdiction because you are not part of the Eggman Empire that he recognizes. And he gets overruled again. Mm-hmm. And then for the rest of the proceedings, he just kind of goofs off, has lunch. Eggman's getting increasingly irate. You're my lawyer, aren't you? Lawyer or something. Don't you worry, Pally. I've got everything under control. And so, he goofs off the entire time, and they're about to pass the verdict in objection. Oh, what now? If you would kindly look at the minutes there, you will see that I was never actually named as the attorney. This man has gone unrepresented for this entire trial. That is illegal, sir. And sure enough, Eggman never said he was his attorney.
Yep.
They just tried him without an attorney and just assumed, so therefore mistrial. And Eggman is just cackling as they're both shoved off into a jail cell. And that's when Wes reveals that he was a plant all along from whatever lackey or minion, and he's got like the escape device hidden in his cheek, and Eggman helps get him out. But
of course,
I don't know, just the idea of antagonistic Looney Tunes styled Wes Weasley lawyer cracked me up. Not a big arc or anything, just a single issue, but I wish we could have had that happen.
He sounds like Yogi Bear.
A little bit. Yeah.
It's a good voice, though.
Yeah. We'd never get away with that cigar, though.
No, unfortunately.
Probably do just like a lollipop. I don't know if we'd be able to get away with a lollipop either.
Yeah, I don't know. Wow. Did you answer the question?
I object, Your Honor. Why am I the one being on the stand? He's the defendant. I don't know. Sonic didn't arrest anybody himself. There you go.
Sonic never arrests anybody. I mean, he watches other people arrest people, but he never makes an arrest. He's not a citizen's arrester. It's not his style. He's not a cop.
I mean, the Deadly Six weren't even arrested so much as they were contained until they were let go back on their home planet. So,
yeah.
Could you really call that an arrest?
I don't know. I'm going to have an arrest if we don't move on. Here's this question from Dove. Then after this, we're going to take a break. So, Ian, now that Starline has some free time, what would happen if he decided to interact with other villains? How would he react to Bowser? Would Comet get mad? Would Mario be in trouble?
It would be startlingly similar to the Eggman scenario, because he would show up in Mario's world and just be enamored with Bowser. Like every time he does something, he takes away the head of state. He conquers the national capital within minutes and distributes his forces evenly throughout the various worlds with extreme antagonism. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
How can this man fail? He has a variety of military craft. He doesn't just use one form. He dabbles in magic and machinery. Truly, this is the leader the Mushroom Kingdom deserves. Mario's coming. Let's put all our forces here. What do you mean you're going to wait? You have this immense power. Go fight him. Well, don't store the axe next to the bridge. Lava's like one of your few weaknesses. Why are you waiting next to the lava pit?
Oh no. It's a repeat.
But the thing is,
Starline is a stable time loop. It's a stable story loop.
Bowser would tolerate this even less than Eggman.
Oh God.
Like the first time Starline mouthed off or questioned him, he would get thumped. So
Starline's going to end up in a lava pool.
Yeah.
Like, very quickly. It would not take much long. It would not take longer. It would not take long at all.
That's when he isekais into 20XDX.
And then he ends up oh no. Oh, darn.
Master Sigma, your attempts to... No, that's 21XDX.
Yeah, that's different. That's
so
different.
Wily.
It's
okay.
Wily. Yeah, he's Wily is probably a bit less
What
impressive.
Is the one made out of wood?
I feel like we've been through this.
And that's fine. He'll just take matters into his own hands, and he'll use that evil energy himself and conquer the world. Why is it corroding his body? And then he isekais into 21XDX.
Yes. With Sigma.
Excellent opening gambit, Mr. Sigma. But who is that D-list hunter? Why are we not taking him out? We have nukes, sir. Aim at him. Aim all the nukes. Shoot the blue one. Trust me, sir. Shoot the blue one.
Always shoot the blue one.
Why are we giving Vile an airship? He's hardly controllable. Yes, I know he causes a great deal of destruction, but he doesn't follow orders.
Poor Starline, he's doomed forever to see the flaws in every other villain's plan but his own.
Yes, it's grand that you took over Shadow Moses Island, but why for a corpse?
Oh no. He does end up in Kirby Land. And he's like, why are you friends with the enemy?
I used to be an enemy like you, but then Eggman threw me by my knees.
Oh, man.
He shows up in the city of Saints Row. I'll be running this town by the end of the week. He's dead within the hour.
Of course, yes. He would not last. No, he would not last at all.
There you go, folks. Dr. Starline's horribly fated isekai adventures. Go nuts.
Wondering how he would end up what would end up happening in Zelda if he were there. God, he would, I don't know, he would hate that too. Why are you playing tennis with the enemy? This is no time for tennis.
Small suggestion, Dark Lord. Use the giant boar form first!
Oh, man. He did try that, though. He's done that once. Yeah.
All I'm saying is put out an all-points bulletin on any blonde twinks in the kingdom. Shoot on sight. Don't risk this, please. I'm begging you. Do you know how many worlds I've been through?
He's even wearing blue in this one, too. I cannot get away from the blue. It's like the, remember Jim Carrey in Liar Liar? He's trying to say that a pen is red, but he can't. He's trying to lie. So it's just blue. This pen is blue. This hero is blue. Oh. All right. I think that's good enough. Let's go ahead and take a break.
Let's take a break and come back with more Q&A. And we're back with more questions here on the BumbleKast.
Here's one from Chinny Kinney. I was recently playing through Sonic Adventure and noticed something weird in Act 2 of Red Mountain that I was hoping you could shed some light on. There's some strange imagery in some of the decorative assets, such as graves, crosses, and glowy creatures behind bars. These things bring some dark implications to the floating island. What is buried in its volcanic core? Who are the prisoners, and what are they made of?
I don't know. Like, somebody did a no-clip camera thing, and if you get in close, they're actually like hollow humanoid shapes of like what looks like wrapped bandages. So it kind of looks like convict stripes, except there's nothing in there, and they have a ball and chain on their ankles. And in one of the cells, or somewhere in Red Mountain, there's an electric chair. So
Weird.
I don't know what's going on in there, but it's spooky.
Well, maybe it's simple curiosity. Tries to take a bite of you. So that's what they're just trying to do. They're trying to show you what they're made of.
But they're barely made of anything.
Well, I don't know then. I don't know what to say. What I do know is we have a question from Chaos Sonic 1. Ian, even though this is treading into Lost Hedgehog tales, what was Onux's new personality going to be? And Auntie Espio's personality? I would laugh as a personality a combo of Akane Ninja, the ninja sentai that don't hide, and Naruto Uzumaki, the brash loudmouth ninja.
I don't think we ever got that far, to be honest. Onux is already kind of established, and it would have been more of an exploration of how is he the anti-Knuckles, aside from he's a pacifist, which, But I wanted to spin that as something like he's less of an overt brawler and more of an indirect spy master. That he doesn't outwardly fight you. He gets other people to fight you. He manipulates things to get his way. As for the anti-chaotics, I got as far as calling them the Orderix. And if the Chaotix were Knuckles' loose group of friends that just happened to have powers, the Orderics were going to be his highly disciplined enforcers that didn't particularly like him, but they had a cause. Who they were individually, I hadn't gotten that far yet.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question from Bump the Deer. Given how number 50 is very explicit about Eggman actually planning ahead, what was the reason behind your stance shift? Was it fan backlash, Sega's input, involvement with Frontiers, or your own reassessment based on things like the Egg Carrier 2 from SA1, his plan in Unleashed, etc.?
Part of it was I didn't want to tip my hand. I mean, come on now. And also part of it was folks were basing this on Starline's opinion, which is not my opinion. Starline isn't right, at least not 100%. You're not supposed to think he's 100% right. That's the whole thing about his brand of villainy, is he'll fixate on one technicality and spin it off to make sure that he's right and everyone else is wrong.
Starline is not your self-insert and you trying to make a point through him. Like, some people seem to believe that or take it that way. It's like, no.
Well, some people believe that the queen is a lizard person, so, there's no accounting for taste. But the thing is, Eggman does plan ahead. It's just he's terrible with contingencies. He gets tunnel vision with stuff. Like, with SA1, he had the egg carrier prepared. He had his armed forces prepared. The plan was to get the Chaos Emeralds. He baited Knuckles into tracking down emeralds for him. He played a lot of the characters to get Chaos to its perfect state, but he didn't account for what if he couldn't control perfect chaos. That didn't occur to him. It's just like, everything's going according to plan. Wait, it didn't. And not every time it blows up in his face. Like, nothing really went wrong in Sonic Colors. He was fine. The only thing that stopped him was Sonic. Sonic just beat him straight out.
Yeah.
Same with Generations. Like, he had full control of the Time Eater. The only reason he lost is because the Sonics kicked his butt. So,
yeah, I don't know, man.
Eggman can plan, but he also has faults. It's not a binary thing. Just because he makes mistakes doesn't mean that he doesn't plan. Just because he plans doesn't mean he doesn't make mistakes. It's a kid's book. It shouldn't be this hard.
Well, you're making that argument again. That's going to rile some people up.
Yeah, well.
Well, I mean, you could say literally anything and somebody would get mad about it. So, whatever.
Well, let's try that. Literally anything. Let's see the downvotes.
I guess you could just stop talking. Maybe some people would like that.
That'd probably be the smartest thing I could do, but unfortunately, this has become a lucrative gig, so...
Whoops. Screwed that
We're driving this baby off a cliff and into the ground.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well... Batman69 LOL has a question. Maybe they can save us from this one. If Surge lost a bet and had to do whatever Kit wanted her to do for a day, but it can't be anything he knows she wants to do or she tells him to, what would Kit have her do, and how would she deal with it? And once the day is up, how bad would Surge's revenge be?
I can see this going one of two ways. One is that Kit just completely shuts down. The very concept of having dominion over anyone, let alone Surge, is not something he can process. So he would try to find those loopholes that you mentioned, get shut down, and just kind of curl into the fetal position until the day was done. The other option is that he slowly warms up to the idea with, very small asks, and then the floodgates open. He just becomes the antithesis of everything he was, and all of the negative codependence spirals out of control, and he is just a domineering, abusive jerk. And then the day is done, and Surge isn't going to listen to him anymore, and she is going to make him she will make him pay back tenfold what she experienced, and she is not going to be nice about it.
Yeah, no. Ava Arctic has a question. When it comes to writing for comics, how do you find a good balance for fighting scenes? Not something on the scale of Dragon Ball epic galaxy throwing, but more of two parties come across each other and have a disagreement. just to keep it vague and open for the kind of writing or genre. I feel there needs to be a good balance so that there's a good bit of action to reward the reader, but not go on so long and blow the production budget.
It depends on the project and depends on what the fight is doing. There is a time and a place for fighting just for the action beat, just for the spectacle, but that's usually for like the cold open. We'll use Sonic because that's what most folks are here for. You open on a page with him smashing some badniks, and that's, the cold open. That's the action beat. You don't have to have a lot of thought put behind it because it's just Sonic being cool, and that's the opening page or so. That's fine. That's enough to get, the average person to flip to the next page and keep reading. But if you're talking like a fight that you want someone to be invested in, a character versus character, an actual adversarial confrontation, a conflict of wills, something, there needs to be a reason behind it. Why are the characters coming to blows? And what is the result of that fight? What are you trying to illustrate with this battle? Do you want to show off that the two are equal in skill? Because then you need to spend some time showing off either the similarities in their styles or the differences in their styles. Is one more cunning than the other? Are they able to outthink their brute force? Or is your protagonist the brute trying to overcome the smarter opponent? And how are they able to endure or overcome what's put in front of them? Do you want to just be a curb stomp? Do you want to show the overwhelming power of the one party? Do you want this to be an endurance match? Like, is the tragedy of the story just the ongoing, horrible, dragged out nature of the fight that just won't end? They need to call a truce. They need to walk away, but they keep fighting, and this is just exhausting to read because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to exhaust the reader. You're trying to get them to feel the complete lack of humility and energy left in these characters. Or do you want it to be decisive? A quick 1, 2, 3 page thing just to show off how quick and elegant and efficient one of the fighters is. It just comes down to what you're trying to do with a fight and how much page real estate you have and what your assets are.
And they have their own styles and they won't change. One's filled with evil and one's not. There's no way one of them can lose. I'm sorry, I'm turning into you.
You've spent too much time in proximity to me.
I mean, that's, yeah. Probably. Apparently my brain can only think in Crush 40 lyrics today. Oh well. OzJamH has a question. With writing characters, you always want to make sure you have an idea of who they are and what they're like in the universe they live in. One important aspect of that is giving those characters flaws. Either it is a bad temper or a point of view that is different from your own. Recently, however, many people, at least to me, seem to have viewed those flaws as bad writing. To make a long question short, what do you think is the best approach to handling those kinds of criticisms thrown at you? And how do you determine what is bad writing on the writer's part? Or rather, when do you think what the character is doing is right for that character's goals and personality?
Whew.
This is an interesting question.
It is. It's a big one.
Yeah.
And the best short answer I can give is it comes from experience. And it's never easy to gauge. Gauging criticism is one of the most difficult things out there, especially online, where there is very little middle ground. You either get, oh, this was great, which is, I'm happy that you're entertained, but why? There's no meat on that bone. Or, multi-paragraph diatribes about why their misinterpretation of the work is wrong and they're angry about it, which doesn't serve any critical assistance at all. And there is a middle ground. There is. It's just you have to dig through a lot of chaff to find it sometimes. One of the things I've learned is to look at the argument that's being made, the criticism that's being made, and try to distill what the central point is. What is their thesis? What are they critiquing and why? And see if that aligns with the project itself and what you were intending. And if it's completely at odds, then what you do isn't necessarily dismiss it, because that's a dangerous thing to do, but rather take a step back and look at your own work and see, okay, how did that misinterpretation come across? What was it that you presented that could have been possibly misconstrued in that way? And sometimes it's a matter of, oh, I realized I phrased it completely wrong, or you could read it in that way. So it wasn't what you intended, but that's a perfectly valid reading of it. And you can't really do much about that other than try to be more mindful next time you go around about how things can be read. And sometimes it's just someone has their very precise point of view on how something should be done. And either that doesn't go with how you're approaching the project, or it doesn't fit the project itself.
Yeah.
They're trying to impose their vision on your work, which, I'm sorry, no, that's not how it works. The line between criticizing the work that is there on its own merits and applying your own desires to it can unfortunately be a little fuzzy. And again, finding that distinction just comes from experience. Exhaustive, long-term, built-up experience. As for crafting a character with flaws, look at what are the flaws that you are making for the character, and is it organic to them? Like, if you have your character and you just throw random foible number 10 upon them, that's not a character flaw, that's a trope. What is it about them that leads them to make that mistake habitually? Why is it they're failing? And how is that a reflection of who they are and how they solve problems and interact with other people or situations? You can't just have, oh, they're clumsy, and say that's their foible, that's their problem. Okay, why are they clumsy? Are they inattentive? Are they, actually imbalanced? Do they have a physical condition, or are they just so quick to move that they don't think their way through? What is it about them that causes this? And how does that affect their day-to-day? So as long as you invest yourself in these characters and think through their traits and then apply it to the work, I think that does most of the work for you. And learning to do that also just comes with time and experience. And the only way you can do that is to write and produce, and sometimes it's going to be trash, and you're going to look back on it in a couple years and go, oh, why did I commit that to a page? Because you have to grow. That's how things are.
Well, I don't have a whole heck of a lot to add to that. That's a pretty definitive answer, I should say. And let's go ahead and move on to this next question here from Arcfighter. Ian, if you were to adapt the Mega Man Zero series, how might you expand on elements we saw in the games, particularly elements like the four Guardians and their personalities?
It depends if I had the kind of page real estate I did, like in the classic Mega Man series, where, we took our time. It was decompressed, possibly to a fault. Depends on who you ask. But with the Zero series, and this is with the caveat of it's been a long time since I looked into the Zero storyline, but it is at least a fairly, I want to say straightforward narrative, more or less. Rich in side characters and smaller plots and background information. So take some time to explore that. Don't just focus on the missions with Zero doing his thing. Spend some time with the members of the Resistance or with the four Guardians. What is their relationship with Copy X? How are they treated? How do they work in New Arcadia? What did New Arcadia even look like? Neo Arcadia, sorry. Hey, it means the same thing.
It's new, yeah. It's like Neo Green Hill Zone.
Like I said, it's been a long time since I went through the Zero stuff.
Yeah.
And look at the places where there were unanswered questions or threads that didn't get fully followed up on, and see if you can follow those anywhere. See how Zero interacts with the Resistance. He seemed pretty stoic and standoffish, but you can use that as the straight foil to everybody else. How do they bounce off of him? This is, of course, assuming you have the pages to do that. If it's you get a mini series per game. You ain't going to get time for that.
No. I would have liked to have seen actually what happens between Zero and X, the Elf Wars. That would be fascinating. I'm like, you get glimpses of it through the games, but you don't really see the whole thing.
I've heard there's some Japanese only radio dramas that might cover some of it too, but
oh, okay.
I have no idea where that might be archived or if that is even considered canon anymore or what, you know?
Or if it's been translated at all or anything. Yeah. I don't know, man. Mega Man is a franchise that has a lot of lore but doesn't like to explore it. It's weird. All right, here's a question from Anonymous. Is Sega willing to accept pitches for powered-up states not granted by conventional power sources, i.e. the Emeralds, like Excalibur and Darkspine Sonic? Maybe we can get pseudo-super forms for characters who are normally allowed to have them. I'm assuming they mean aren't normally allowed to have them, like Amy and Rouge.
Yeah. I don't know. And I hesitate to tap that idea too much because as obnoxious as it is with the whole just the male hedgehogs getting a true super form is, it does put a hard barrier against the kind of power creep and multi-form stuff that plagues things like Dragon Ball. Which, and I say this as someone who enjoyed Golden Frieza and Super Saiyan Blue, but there's like a bajillion different forms and techniques and whatnot, and it gets kind of muddled and convoluted, and then you get into the debate of what's comparable in terms of power, and if you start introducing other forms, like the super forms, you have to have the Chaos Emeralds. You know, that at least is nice and limited. Yeah, there's the 50 rings thing, but that's more of a gameplay mechanic. Narratively, you have to have all 7 Chaos Emeralds. That is the gate that you have to cross. If we start introducing other ones, then they also need to have some kind of believable restriction so that we don't have a question of, well, why doesn't Amy just turn into magical girl with giant world-ending hammer whenever there's a problem? Why doesn't Rouge turn into super Shogun Ninja Dark version at the drop of a hat? Why? It's kind of like where Shadow is now. Like, we don't really have a good idea of what his chaos powers are. Why doesn't he just drop his inhibitor rings and go Chaos Shadow whenever something appears and just nuke it, you know? So I hesitate to go that way. I wouldn't mind it like once or twice to find an alternate avenue for those who are deserving of a little bit of recognition, Amy, but it opens a door that, you know, one that could lead to problems down the line. You have to be careful with this sort of thing.
Yeah. Or you could just say, hey, it's not a super form. It's just an upgrade. Overclock Nicole.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but even then, Overclock Nicole had the restriction of she needed that red star ring, and it overheated her systems to a dangerous degree.
Yes.
It would not be something that she could regularly do.
No.
So.
Yeah. You have to come up with a caveat for it, and then, you know, write around it and blah 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 blah.
But even with Overclock Nicole, once that's established, the question becomes, okay, why don't they upgrade her systems? Why don't they, you know, install a better coolant method in the handheld? Why don't they stock up on red star rings? You know,
we established why they couldn't make more red star rings at time.
We did?
Yes.
No, it's been a while. I don't remember. Point is, you have to be prepared to answer those questions as you introduce those new forms, whatever shape or form they may take, and that can get messy. So it's not an invalid idea. It's just one that you have to approach cautiously.
And to address the suggestion in the chat that where the heck is super big, he doesn't need to go super. He already is more powerful than any super form multiple times over. I mean, he doesn't need it. He's too much as it is. You've seen his final form. This is it. Big can solo hypersonic. I don't think you'll have a problem.
if you ever played Ashura's Wrath, I imagine super big would be like along the lines of Wizen, when he's just like that giant celestial form poking the single finger down into the earth.
Yeah, maybe. It's frightening. Wow. All right, here's a question from Ann Tails. It's time for another death battle. Who would win, Uncle Chuck or Chuck Thorndyke? They're both old, wise scientists who evaded the party in immeasurable ways, but in hand-to-hand combat, which one of the Chucks would reign supreme? If the two could call upon their friends for help, would the Freedom Fighters or the core Sonic X cast help tip the scales?
I'm inclined to give this to Uncle Chuck.
Yeah.
Just because he served in the Great War. I don't know if Grandpa Chuck has a service record.
Are we talking about... Also, are we talking about Robot Uncle Chuck or not Robot Uncle Chuck?
Key distinction.
That might be... Yeah, that might change things a bit.
I would still be inclined to say that the wartime experience would give Uncle Chuck the edge. But if he's mechanically inclined, Grandpa Chuck might have a gizmo that could short him out at a distance.
Yeah, but Uncle Chuck was also an inventor, so he might be able to, circumvent that. I don't know,
I guess the real question then is prep time.
Yeah? Just like Batman.
Yeah.
Although I'm receiving word that Grandpa Chuck pulled his back in the fighting tournament in Sonic X, so...
Oh, well, yeah. In that case, he's toast.
Probably. But he used to be a wrestler, so...
Well, there's professional wrestling, and then there's, having killed a man.
True. Uncle Chuck has killed a man. Good for him. Yep, that's right. I mean, he probably has. He was in the Great War, so... Yeah. All right. Here's a question from Andrew D. As a bit of a follow-up to my question regarding the potential placement of Team Sonic Racing after the Metal Virus, since we don't see Zavok again until the beginning of Bad Guys when he's in prison, would you say that he's either escaped or was rescued by someone like Eggman or Dodonpa before racing and ultimately getting in prison? Or did someone like Eggman or Dodonpa break him out of prison in order to race, only to send him back to prison after? Do you have any ideas or headcanon as to how this could have happened? Or perhaps a completely different scenario? I'm interested in how you would approach squeezing this in if asked to by SEGA or IDW.
At that rate, I would say either put it in before Forces, which isn't chronological release, but it would make more sense, or just say it hasn't happened yet in IDW continuity, because the hokey pokey with the pokey is not going to make any sense. That's too convoluted just to fit in a minor game story.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Alphamon or Yukon has a question. Who were the remaining members of Mogul's 4 Elite?
Do you mean like back in the Forgotten Wars when he was the head of the Order of Ixis?
What?
Because
those are certainly words.
See, I'm trying to remember now. One of the first major retcons I did was tie together the concept of the Forgotten Wars, which were fought between an unknown force and the Order of Ixis, which is what Nagus's progenitors came from. And I linked that up with Mogul, saying that he was formerly Ixis Mogul, the founder of the Order, which stemmed entirely from like a panel in Mogul's original appearance where he's in some kind of dark cloak in like a blink and you miss it type of... It shows him throughout the ages in different outfits, and it's like, hey, he's wearing a dark purple cloak. Okay. Nagus has a purple cloak, cape, thing. Yeah, why not? Let's connect some dots.
I remember that, yeah.
I can't remember if in the flashback I wrote or if it was in the encyclopedia Who's Who thing or what, but I think somewhere I implied that he had like 4 minions as the idea of he's always had 4 subordinates to set up the fearsome foursome that would come later. And probably definitely no small nod to Apocalypse and his 4 horsemen, because, I mean, he's already Vandal Savage. Why not just go in for all the comic references? But beyond that, I don't think I had anything concrete in mind, because I don't think we would have ever gotten back to investigate that part of the story. I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I leafed through the Who's Who. So if you have... and like I ended up name dropping them or something, please comment below. Or if that's not the 4 you're talking about, follow up with us and I'll see if I can jog my memory and see what I can remember what you were talking about.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like a whole bunch of Silver Age nonsense. Here's a question from Alex GS. From a story standpoint, would there be any use for more E100 series robots?
Maybe, probably not. Because the E100 line hasn't been relevant since, like, Sonic Heroes, I guess. And we've moved on. If somebody has a neat twist on it, a neat idea to work with an E100 in their own capacity, kind of reinvent the idea a bit, that could be neat. And but beyond that.
And finally, our last question for this episode comes to us from Off. If Surge is based off of Sonic DNA, can she potentially go super?
She's not based off his DNA so much as his biodata. What is the difference between the two? I don't know. I'm just using the game term. As for going super, I'm assuming she's under the same restrictions as everybody else in the franchise, but, envelopes can be pushed. Limits can be tested.
Do it, Ian. Do it.
Maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Make it happen. Do it. And speaking of things we got to do the reading of the names of all the people. We got to do that.
Marvelous segue. Absolutely impeccable, sir.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. I'm glad I could be here to do the things that are needed to be done, which is read all these names.
Big thank you to Daniel H., John B., Jennifer R., Robotnik Holmes, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Mike B., Dave M., Coupling Crew 128, Duas Diz Den, Andrew D., Salute Your Cat, Jay Frost, Hero of Light 13, Scruffy Matt, Chris A., Ryan D., Sony, John M., Nunny, Jeb, Dawn B., Yami M., Lee H.K., Lisa M., Fiona M., Chevelle, Invade Turbo Tunis, Ben W., Blue Title Gamer, Tick Tick, Keeper of Monsters, Xander Ernie the Painter, Axis Final Neil, Jonathan D, Scurvy Pirate Hog, Nimerick, Solaris Stain, The Name is X, Godzilla, Daddler the Dalek, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Daniel B, Ava Arctic, Pedanticat, Dove, Red the Supernamic, Quaggle Gaggle, Chad, Professor Rye, Cameron H, Jennifer H, Arcfighter Les, Nondol, Sapphire Scarletta, Jack the Animator, Preston M, Alphamon or Yukon, Noah S, Kojiro Highwind, Alex GS, Supersonic Fan, Awesome Cakester, Radry Chase L, Finest Cacophony, Red Wolf, Knights Yubel, Just a Mountain Soul, Callan Q, Jolene B, Joshua S, Megawatt, Ty H, Maddie H, John the Real Waluigi, and Tails, Triplets Born, The Throne Awaits, KJB, DeRoosevelt, Mox, Owen BD, Dapper Shinks, The Marble Gardener, T Ranger, For Sonic, Lewis J, Lemur Chicken, Agent Kaz, Starlight Sick, Wild 48, Navarre, Exadol, Michael Peace, Ty Cyan, Rhythm Raccoon, Miles the Prower, Fenris Asger, Pap, Delta God 77, Mickey Sawdust, Big Dan 20, Jinx, Jamal S, Lacey M, Unlikely Veronica, Cosmic Cooking Hunter 77, Oz Jam, Shimmy M, Angela V5, Spiral Warrior, The Flower Gardener, Sammy S, King Toasty, Tetsu Knives, The Cartoonist, The Internet Person, Seth Cube, Speedweed, Mobius, Mighty Ray, Madeline Blue Star 7, Joe Star SSB, Hedge, Digimon 11, and Chinny Kenny, Chaos Sonic, Bump the Deer, Anonymous Phelps G, Ryoku Shion, Meta Mode, Danny Light, Frost the White Light, Agnes Acid Wheels, 282 Hedgehog.
Thank you for reading all those names, Ian. You read them all very well. Yes,
think so.
Extremely well.
That's going to wrap us up for this episode of the BumbleKast. We will see you Friday for the standard edition of the Q&A. Until then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we will see you next time.
We're out. Hey, Ian, in light of all the various Moebian versions of characters we've got, one I've yet to see is Moebian Munkle Monk. As a full medical... What? Ahem. Idea, let Ian and Kyle record while drunk. No.
Absolutely not.
No. I first of all, I've never been drunk, actually. I've never drank.
Likewise.
So I don't drink. So there was someone on Twitter who was like, one day Ian's going to do this drunk and we're going to hear a lot of really interesting stuff. And I'm just thinking like, no.
Yeah, that's
Nope.
exactly why. No.
Nope.
Because I don't know what kind of drunk I'd be.
I don't either.
No. And I don't want to find out because all of the options are bad. So, no.
Yeah, not a good idea. No, unless like maybe I'm a sleepy drunk, as in I just don't do anything except fall asleep. But I don't know. So, yeah. We're never going to do this show drunk. It will never happen.
No.
Sorry.
You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
Last night, it's late. It's like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
I think gotta get a breath of fresh air on the porch and then maybe call it a night.
Mm-hmm.
And see the building across the way. It's like, oh, look at all those balloons. Somebody's having a happy birthday. That's nice.
Uh-oh.
And on that balcony, that is a very big fire.
Oh, no.
That's not a grill fire. You're not supposed to have grills anyway. That's a big fire. Oh crap!
Oh, no.
So called that in, and I have no idea what the unit number is. I could just guess the floor, and recording for whatever potential legal necessity would be. Watching as the people next door are throwing glasses of water over the privacy wall in a desperate attempt to put it out.
Shit.
As the thing starts to crumble and threaten to fall into the balcony below it.
Oh, no.
Tell you what, that woke me up. That was an exciting 20 minutes.
Oh, boy. I can imagine. Do you know the outcome of that?
Well, we watched until the fire department arrived and they blasted it with, fire retardant and seemed to be investigating the area. So,
all right. Well, at least they showed up. But
yeah.
Huh. Someone was over there summoning some sort of fire god.
So, long story short, I've been prompted to buy a fire extinguisher to have in the house.
Not a bad idea.
No, not at all.
No.